Yes, so I heartily welcome you to our today's SDG talk on SDG number 8, which is about decent work and economic growth. My name is Natalie Bartholomäus, and since I will talk to you 17 minutes, I would like to quickly introduce myself. I am professor for business administration with a focus on human resource management and business organization at Bielefeld University of Applied Sciences in Germany. And I'm also heavily engaged with the topic of sustainability as vice president. So that is strategically seen a hot topic over here in Germany. So also the vice president position is filled right now to take care of the transformation to sustainability at the university itself. I am also teaching a lot of sustainable business here at our university with a focus on competencies of managers related to sustainability and sustainable transformation. I also have a research focus on sustainability, and I am also very active in transferring knowledge to our economic region of East Westphalia Lippe here. And that is exactly the topic for my today's SDG talk. I will talk about how to become green and sustainable as a business. And I will show this at the example of our economic region, East Westphalia Lippe, which is one of the strongest economic region in Germany. And we have a lot of best practices that I would like to share with you. So our SDG number 8, what exactly is meant by this? And I would like to use a reverse question technique for this by questioning what would be the case if we didn't have this SDG number 8. Then our business world would look exactly like this. So on the consumer side, this is left-hand presented. The consumer would say, wow, that's nice. I can buy 3 t-shirts for the price of 1. But how is that possible? That would be the other side shown on the right here. That would be the business side of this scenario here, because it would be we hire 3 people for the price of 1. And that exactly leads us to sustainability goal number 8, which is to take care for solid and also ethical economic growth and good working conditions. So there must be ethical barriers when we talk about profit maximization. And these ethical barriers have to be put exactly at the point where we violate ecological or social issues in our business. And how this looks like from a corporate point of view, and how best practices from Germany look like, that is the content for my SDG talk today. Yeah, so the question behind the little cartoon that I have just shown is changing. So once in earlier times, the business question was, how do I spend the money I have earned? And that would also be a question for the consumer side. But now, and we want to think in a sustainable way, the question must be, how do I earn the money I spend? Two questions that might sound quite similar, but lead us to a total different approach from the management point of view. Yes, and this sustainable economic management is not really a new issue today. We are in a decade of sustainability, and the question for a business is not whether I should invest in sustainable solutions, whether I should go for sustainable business. The question is only nowadays, how can I get sustainable? And how can I become green? How can I design this transformation? But still, although we have sustainability set as a hot topic for business today, maybe the most relevant business topic for the next at least 10 years, it is not new. And that is what is shown on this slide. We already talked about social responsibilities of the businessman in the 1950s. And then further developments on a global level finally ended up in the so-called Brundtland report, where we reached consensus on inter- and intragenerative justice. So as we live today, we are supposed to ensure that the following generations don't live and work in worse conditions. So we have to take care for social, ecological, and economical issues. And it is not a new topic for enterprises as well. We see here that we had a first company report on social responsibilities by Ben & Jerry's at the end of the 80s, and the next Fortune 500 company to follow was Shell at the end of the 90s. So the topic itself is not really new. Business is taking care for social, ecological, and economic issues for quite a long time. But still, there are changes, and that is what I would like to explain in the following. So what is exactly changing here? We see that we have a renewed focus on this ecological dimension. It was pushed in the 1980s, where we had a keen eye on ecological issues of our business. And today we see that, again, we have a new hotspot on the ecological sustainability of business. And that is due to the bottom-up pressure of the Greta generation. So Generation Z is more and more relevant also for business as young professionals. And so enterprises have to carefully listen to this, because they want to stay attractive for the younger generations. And they want to know it, and they only trust you if your engagement in sustainability is authentic and reliable and can be proved by valid data. And we see that we have much more scientific findings on climate change and its consequences. And it is time to act. It is not too late. If we all go for sustainable solutions, then we really still have the chance to save the planet here. Yeah, so thanks to the Greta generation for these new dynamics that the topic is undergoing so far. Yeah, then let's move again to the business perspective that is behind this. So the big issue is that this Brundtland report demanding for inter- and intragenerational justice aims at sustainable development. And the thing is that is happening on a global political level. And that is not a management system or management approach that we can directly transfer to business. But on the other hand, we demand that a business is contributing to sustainable development. So we need some kind of transformation into business. And that is exactly the point when corporate social responsibility as a management approach for business comes into the game. And that is exactly what I would like to focus in the following. What we see is new dynamics on the topic. On the one hand, we see that the whole topic is speeding up because it is no longer voluntary. In Europe, for example, we have tight legal regulations for the so-called ESG reporting. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And more enterprises are forced by law to report on their social, ecological, and economic measures that they have. So We cannot longer talk about, I do something that is exceeding the law and I do this voluntarily because I want to do good things for society or environment. So we have tight legal regulations here. That puts pressure on business. And on the other hand, we see that the customer is also demanding for sustainable products, for sustainable services, and that especially accounts for the younger generations who are also willing to pay full prices. So that means that there is willingness to pay more for sustainable products, and products that are not sustainable might also be rejected by the younger generations. Yeah, so if we put this in a nutshell, what has changed? We see that the original business thoughts of the 70s, following the philosophy of Friedman, the business of business is business, has changed to a three-dimensional approach that integrates social, ecological, and economic aspects of our business. And we see that we have a lot of global, region-wide, as we have it in Europe, or national programs that really try to push sustainable developments by funding this. And we see that every company is affected. Sustainability is definitely not a topic only for the huge enterprises, but also for small and medium-sized enterprises. And we see some differences. So large companies show more a strategical approach of how to deal with the topic. It is more explicit what they do, and they have a keen eye on managing the topic and on their reporting. And on the other hand, we see that small and medium-sized enterprises have their eyes are very tight on good working conditions and ecological efficiency. And there is a lot to learn from each other. And that is why dialogue is always a good idea to strengthen sustainable engagement. Yeah, but there is no one size fits all strategy. We can definitely state this because the strategy for sustainability really has to fit the special environment of each company. And a lot of enterprises are involved in developing their strategies for sustainability. And if you look into the literature, then a strategy development process ideally looks like this, but that is hard management view. Very important, but today we follow quite a softer approach. And the thing is that behind this sustainability strategy approaches, there is a huge change process that has to do a lot with attitude, values, and also competencies that are required. So, but still, I would like to show you how to reach the goals that are demanded by SDG number 8. And we can already gain much if we follow this approach. First of all, think, what is your attitude towards corporate social responsibility? What is sustainability for your business? Then in a second step, start to act. No pain, no gain. You have to get into action and start measures. And then finally communicate and report on your engagement. Unfortunately, in some industries, we have seen that they go the other way around. So they promise something, report something, but then this is not valid because there is no action behind it. Then it would be greenwashing. And then they get into an image crisis, and then they start to think it over. And the ideal process is to move from left to right and not the other way around. And there are a lot of things behind this. So first of all, you should think about what is your mission. For example, I want to become climate neutral by 2025, or I want to become the greenest company of East Westphalia Lippe, that is our economic region here. So that is something that enterprises should clarify as a first step. And then, of course, a vision alone is not sufficient. you have to get into action. And that means, okay, I have products, I have production, I have a human resource management and so on. What does it mean if all these business functions themselves have to become sustainable? Could be the case that for sustainable HRM, you think about talent management to be future capable with best HR. Or for sustainable products, how can you balance economical, ecological, and social issues that are related to your product? And you should anchor sustainability in all business functions so that finally we can talk about green marketing, green HR, green production, sustainable financing, and so on. And of course, you need people who really go for it. Can be the case that you have a sustainability officer, a vice president for sustainability, a whole department, or at least someone who is in charge for sustainability reporting. Yeah, and then the last step would be communicate, walk the talk. Our region here is often going for understatements, so talk would be the harder case as compared to walk. But of course, what is meant by this walk the talk is work with valid data. So only communicate things where you really have authentic and approvable measures behind this. And in a CSR communication, you can also talk about things that didn't run well, where you still have improvement potential. An authentic report is better than greenwashing, since sustainability is not about the nicest story. We really have to get into action with valid measures and valid data. To put this in a nutshell, I really want to repeat this again. First, think about your strategic orientation, then become active with operational implementation, and then finally communicate with your stakeholders in a proactive dialogue. That would be a good approach to reach all these things that are behind SDG number 8. Yeah, who does this in a good way? I would like to talk about some best practices that come from our region here, East Westphalia Lippe. And every 2 years, there is a so-called CSR award that is handed over to outstanding best practices to enterprises who function as role models for a whole industry. And I would like to quickly tell some little stories on that enterprises. Seidensticker is from the textile industry, and Seidensticker won this CSR report because they ensure very good working conditions across the entire supply chain. So this is not a topic for the headquarter here in East Westphalia Lippe. It is a topic across the whole globe where they are active. And they also committed to ECHOT on fire building and safety in Bangladesh. Then the next example would be Weinrich. That is one of the hidden champions here for food, especially chocolate. Vegan chocolate is also something that they are very famous for. And they also ensure human working conditions on a very good level and production conditions, not only here, but also where the resources are sourced. And in that case, that is in Ghana. They have 100% bio and 100% fair trade in their products. They engage for refugees and they have energy efficient buildings. That is also to be stated as role model for the food industry. Another example would be from the construction industry, that is Hagedorn. And they have a very CSR committed female CEO, giving the company a corporate sustainable responsibility soul, I have to say. They have more than 560 employees now, and they all feel very much appreciated, supported, and treated with respect because the CEO has such a tight eye on sustainable issues. Yeah, and finally, I would like to give the example of Halfa, because I don't only want to talk about sustainable business, but also green business. And Halfa is from the advertising industry. They have 100% green electricity already. They engage for green mobility for all their employees, and they have further social engagement, also especially in the field of inclusion. That is also way ahead in contrast to the average of that business. Yes, and something that is maybe striking. There are studies who found out that women have a stronger focus on socio-economic issues. And there is a consensus that we need more interdisciplinary competencies in our business. And we really want to give companies a CSR soul, that we really have not a position paper, a strategy that is formulated, but also attitude and competencies behind this. And yeah, that might be worth to think about. And I also would like to point out that companies are very much speeding up with their engagement in sustainable business solutions, but also universities do. And they do this because young students and also the next generations of students, they really demand for sustainability also in universities. And they want a valid data here and authentic engagement, just as they demand it from enterprises as well. And since we are developing new knowledge and we also accompany enterprises in their change process for sustainable business, we really have to work together. Sustainable and especially the goals that are given by SDG number 8, decent work, sustainable economic growth, need cooperation. And not only cooperation by enterprises themselves or by universities with each other. That is something that we can only manage jointly. So we need a global effort on that topic. So let's work together, let's get sustainable, and let's manage this great transformation to sustainable and green solutions for our joint future. Yeah, it is not about doing some ethical things, it's about doing all things ethically. That is my conclusion, and thanks a lot for your attention. If you have any further questions in the following, please feel free to contact me and my team over here in Germany. Thank you and goodbye.